Arduino for Beginners, Episode 3, Digital Inputs. Now, in the last episode, we went over digital outputs, which basically means we are switching a digital pin either to high, which is 5 volts out, or low, 0 volts out. What we are going to do now is we are going to digital read a pin, and we'll be using a push button. I already got that stuck in here. And we will be checking if the pin is high or low. And what we will be doing is building on our last circuit we put together. So when the button is pushed, it makes the digital pin go high and then makes it flash through the 3 colors. So what we will need, of course, is a button. And I've put that on here. You want to make sure your common terminals on this side, they're both the same, and on this side, they're both the same. You can use your voltmeter on continuity to figure that out. Then we will need a couple jumpers, 3 more jumpers, and a resistor. And I have a 1 mega ohm. This can be a little higher, a little lower, just somewhere in the ballpark range of a meg. Whatever you have that's close to that, you could probably go down maybe a couple hundred K and still be okay. But what this is doing is it's pulling the switch down to low. So we will connect that right here to this side and we will put it to ground. And what it's doing is just making sure when the switch is not being pressed, it is at low. So there is no voltage on it. Otherwise you might get some static stray voltage that will cross over and give false readings on the button. Next, I've got a jumper here. Now this one's a little longer than these ones. This is the next size bigger. And I'm going to connect that to the 5 volts on the Arduino. And there's actually 2 pins there you can connect to for the 5 volts. And then I'm going to connect that to the positive, the red rail, on the solderless breadboard. Then, let's see, we will take this jumper and we'll put it on, actually, stick it, okay, it goes in that one there. We're going to put it on the same side as the resistor, and we're going to put that on digital pin 7 on the Arduino board. And then on the other side, we will connect that to the positive rail. Now I have jumpers here running across so that my positive and negative rails are the same on both sides. They are not connected, remember that, unless you run a jumper across. And I custom cut these out of some flat surface mount jumpers to make it nice and convenient. But you can use your regular jumpers as well. Now, everything's set up. We got the push button on there. The resistor. Now everything else is going to be the same as from the last video, the episode on digital outputs. So just add on to that and we'll be good to go. Alright, let's go over to the computer, and what we'll do is we'll bring up the sketch from the last episode and we're just going to add on to that. And what we'll be doing is making it so when this button is pushed, this will cycle through all 3 colors. And actually I've already tested this out and have it uploaded, so instead of having to come back after we go over that, I will just demonstrate it working right now, and then we'll go over to the computer and take a look. Blue, green, red, then it's done. And it won't cycle through again until we press the button. Now in this simple example, we don't have to worry about debouncing the button because it has to cycle through that, and as long as you pull your finger off before it cycles through all 3 colors, it will be fine. But if you just held it down, it will just continuously cycle through, as you can see there. Alright, I'm going to go over get the computer running and bring up the sketch from episode 2, and then show you the little bit of code we have to add to it to do this here. So I will catch you there in just a moment. Alright, I've got the sketch opened up here on the computer. Now this is the one we used in the last episode, episode 2, digital outputs. We just have to do some minor modifications to add onto this for this episode. So let's just get right to it. First thing we're going to do is we are going to need to define the pin that we have the button on. So we will put in define. I'm just going to put B1 for button 1, and we're going to put that on pin 7. Enter. Then we're going to use an integer to store a value of high or low, and this will be if the button is pushed or not pushed. So for the integer, you go int, int, we'll do a space, and we'll just call this integer val for value, and that will equal low, and do that in all caps, and then put a semicolon. Alright, now we need to define the pin mode for this, so we'll put in pin mode B1, and that pin mode will be an input this time. And do input in all capital letters, and make sure it's in parentheses, and then put your semicolon. Alright, so now we can go down to the void loop, and what we're going to do is we'll put a space in there, and we will go val equals, so what we're going to do is a digital read, so we go GIAL D, read, make sure you put the R in read as capital, so digital read, and then in parentheses B1, and then don't forget your semicolon. Now we're going to try our first if statement. So if val equals, and you do 2 equals, because if you just do 1 equal, that means you are setting that to that, where it will become that value. In the if statement, you want to check if it's equal to, so you do a double equal. And then what we're going to check is to see if the button's pushed, which means 5 volts are going through to pin 7, so it would be high. And type that in full caps, and make sure to put your parenthesis and your semicolon. Or excuse me, no semicolon there. My bad. Then we need to do our curly bracket, and that is you just hold the shift key and push the key right to the right of your P on the keyboard, the letter P, and you just want that curly bracket. So what will happen is if the value, the button is being read, if it equals high, which means it's being pushed down, it's going to go through. And as you've seen, I demonstrated a few minutes ago there what happens. We push the button, it goes through, and it cycles through the colors and flashes them for about 2 seconds. Now down here we have to close this out, means we have that curly bracket there. We got to do the opposite of that. So it's 2 keys over from the letter P on your keyboard, and add that. And don't forget, otherwise you'll go to compile it or verify it and it'll come up with an error. But now what we can do is hit verify. As you can see, it is good to go. Well, that is all there is to it. In the next episode, what we are going to do is we are going to start looking at the analog inputs and outputs. I think we'll go ahead and do the analog input first, and then we'll do the analog output. Now the analog output actually is done on your PWM pins on your Arduino board. It uses pulse width modulation, and it's not actually on the analog pins themselves. The analog pins themselves are for doing an analog read. And that's what we'll check out in the next episode. And I think what we'll do is we'll use an LDR, a light dependent resistor, and we'll use that. And then we'll figure something out with the LEDs and the maybe to change the brightness of the LED depending on the light. Actually sounds like a good thing to do in the next episode. So, all right, well, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when new episodes are uploaded. And if you are finding these tutorials useful, please give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it very much. So I hope to catch you here with episode 4.